Hi, my name is Bryce Duce, and this is my informative speech over the psychology behind the first impression. So the first thing I'm going to ask of you is to look at this picture of this man. What is the first thing you think when you see this picture? He looks like he doesn't have much money, like he might be homeless even, right? Well, actually, he is the multimillionaire Adam Sandler. He doesn't dress like he has the money, but he does. Did you know that it takes just 7 seconds for someone to form a first impression of you? That's about the time it takes to walk into a room. Whether it's a job interview, a first date, or a meeting with a professor for the first time, those initial moments are powerful. What's even more surprising is that your brain is forming that judgment automatically without you even realizing it. Today I'm going to break down what's really happening in those first few seconds. We'll explore how first impressions are formed, what traits people notice first, and why these first impressions tend to stick even when we're wrong. The first topic I'm going to hit is how first impressions work in the first place. So how does this process happen? First impressions are made automatically by the brain, often within milliseconds. This is part of a concept called thin slicing, which refers to our brain's ability to make quick judgments with very limited information. According to psychologists Nolly and Robert, even brief exposure to someone's facial expressions or tones of voice can shape how we perceive them. That's because of a key part of our brain called the amygdala, which is involved in emotional processing and quick assessments of threats or trustworthiness. We are wired for speed, not depth, when it comes to first impressions. The second point I'm going to make is what traits people judge first. When we meet someone, our brains prioritize certain traits above others almost instantly. According to researchers Willis and Tollery, the first traits we assess are usually trustworthiness, likability, and competence and confidence. For example, think about a handshake. A firm handshake and steady eye contact might signify confidence and reliability, while a weak one might be judged as an uncertain or shy. Even small cues like posture, tone, or a brief facial expression can heavily influence how we're perceived, whether we intend them or not. The third point I'm going to make is why the first impression sticks. Now, here's the tricky part. Once first impressions are made, it's hard to change them. One reason is something called confirmation bias, which means we tend to look for information that supports what we already believe. So if someone seems unfriendly at first, we might ignore their friendly behavior later on. Another reason is the primary effect, which means that initial information carries more weight than any that comes after, which is why first impressions can last, even if they're inaccurate. A psychologist, Daniel Kahneman, explains in Thinking Fast and Slow, our brains rely on quick, intuitive thinking for first impressions, but it takes effort and awareness to override that initial reaction. So let's recap all this. First impressions are formed quickly, often within seconds, based on limited information. Our brains focus on key traits like trustworthiness and confidence, and once a first impression is made, it tends to stick because of its biases in how we process new information. Next time you meet someone new or realize you're being judged, remember both your brain and theirs are already working behind the scenes. So my question is, what impression are you giving? And is it one you want to give? Thank you for listening.